Let's celebrate World Nutella Day with Crostata alla Nutella. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make pasta frolla, how to make an easy Nutella filling, and how to make heart-shaped mini pies. This recipe makes one 8-inch pie or 3 mini pies. You'll need some Nutella at room temperature, cocoa butter or unsalted butter melted for the Nutella filling, some unsalted butter for the pie dough, tipo 00 or caking pastry flour, icing sugar, and egg yolks. As always, the description will be listed below. Let's start by making the pasta frolla, which is an Italian pie dough with butter and eggs. If you're making the dough by hands with a pastry blender, you can sift the flour instead of using a food processor. Next, add the cold butter cubes and pulse the mixture for about 5 to 10 seconds at a time, or until the butter is broken down into pea-sized pieces. Be careful not to overprocess. You want small visible pieces of butter in the mixture. In another bowl, sift the icing sugar. Add the flour mixture to the icing sugar and combine well. Gently whisk the eggs and add the beaten egg yolks to the flour mixture. Every little bit counts, so scrape it all out. Stir this with a fork. It'll look clumpy, but don't worry, it will all come together. Add ice cold water a tablespoon at a time until it forms a crumbly dough. You don't want to add too much, otherwise it will be sticky and gooey. I'm adding about 4 tablespoons total until I feel it's starting to come together. Pie dough has never been my thing, but this dough is much easier to work with and more forgiving than pie dough made with shortening or lard. Pour the dough on top of a sheet of plastic wrap. It will look crumbly, but we're going to get it to stick, no worries. As you wrap the dough, you're going to press it together. The key to making a good pie crust is to keep it as cold as possible and to work it as least possible. It also needs to be a little drier than wet, otherwise it won't come out flaky. Shape the dough in a rectangle and flatten it out. Refrigerate the dough at least 1 hour up to 3 days. When ready to use, unwrap the dough and place it on top of another sheet of plastic wrap. Roll out the dough to 1/8 inch thickness by rotating it every couple rolls. I use a rolling pin with adjustable disc that helps roll out the dough evenly. You'll see little bits of butter, but that's what you want. Refrigerate the dough if it gets too soft. Cut the dough 1/2 inch wider than the pan with a pastry wheel. Trim the top off the crust to make it even. Then pierce the bottom and sides with a fork to ensure even baking. To make a heart-shaped pie, I'm using a mini foil pan, which I manipulated into a heart shape. Once the pie shells are made, they need to be chilled again, along with the extra dough. In the meantime, we're going to make the Nutella filling, preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, make the egg wash, and the lattice to cover the pies. Some important tips on using Nutella. Always keep the jar of Nutella closed, otherwise it will harden. You need to store it at ambient temperature and always stir it up before using to distribute any oils. My daughter is a Nutella-holic and always digs in the middle of the jar, leaving the edges to harden, which is a big pet peeve of mine. If your Nutella does get hard, don't throw it out. Just add a little vegetable oil and stir it up until it's smooth again. If you're baking with the Nutella, you can also add hot cream to make a filling or a ganache. Now some don'ts. Never refrigerate, freeze, or warm up the Nutella on its own. You'll end up ruining the consistency. Don't add water or milk to thin it. Only oils or cream, as it needs to be fat-based. And don't keep the jar of Nutella open, because it will harden very quickly. Now onto the filling. Add the melted cocoa butter, which I microwaved, or unsalted butter if using, gently to the Nutella and stir until creamy and smooth. If you're using cocoa butter, the mixture will harden quickly, so you want to do this step just before pouring it into your pie shells. Pour the mixture evenly in the pie shells. I'm showing 2 in this step, but I did end up making 3 pies. To make the lattice, cut narrow strips of the remaining dough with a pastry wheel. For mini pies, I'm cutting half-inch strips, but for a regular size pie, I would cut 3/4 inch to 1-inch strips. Place the strips evenly over the filling, which is now hardened, by pressing the ends together and continue over top diagonally. Trim the edges for a neat and polished look. Brush the lattice with an egg wash made by combining 1 egg with a little bit of milk. Don't add too much, you just want to give a golden shiny color when baking. For mini pies, bake for 25 to 30 minutes, or for a regular size pie, bake for 35 to 40 minutes. Cool the pie or pies for at least 1 hour. Store them refrigerated and serve at room temperature. You can also freeze the pies and thaw them at room temperature before serving. Removing the pies from the foil is very easy after the pies have cooled and chilled. It's taste test time. Since the pie was still cold, as I didn't have patience to let it come to room temperature, I just popped it in the microwave for 30 seconds. That's why it looks melted in some parts. OMG, if you are a Nutella-holic like me and my daughter, you'll love this pie. The cocoa butter brings out the chocolate flavor even more, and the pie crust is delicious, not too sweet or greasy. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to get notified on my new tutorials every week. Let me know if you made this recipe in the comments below and how it turned out. Happy World Nutella Day!